Hello, this is Brian Simonson. This is the second video where we are doing an example project for the report writer. In the previous video, we did a basic setup and description of our example project, and we went over the basic elements of the current parameter sheet, which is we're looking at right now, which is the kind of the brain of the report writer. Now we're going to talk today on this slide about the figure data import tab. Long, crazy name. The basic point here is to import our data. Before we can make a report, we need some actual numbers for which to come up with cool tables and charts. So I have made it pretty difficult on us. I have blanked out everything. Now, what you do notice right here is I already have some smart logic that is linking to the current parameters page something with a concatenated / results, which we saw before. That is where the results are sitting. This does not have to be here, by the way, is my point. It can be within a project folder, somewhere far off and away. This just obviously, by nature of this example, has it nicely nested in a singular location. I'm going to open up that file though, and we're going to start with what makes sense is we're going to do table 1, right? Table 1, we're going to open up the file just to take a peek at it again. Oh, sorry. As you can see, is a 2-column table, and this has 4 rows of data. It may, depending, sometimes you may or may not know how many rows there are, and we'll talk about that. That gets to be a little tricky, and typically, the report writer here is kind of designed for, well, you have to kind of understand kind of the max number of rows for your data. If you don't, the report writer does have other functionalities that can handle that, but that's more of an advanced exercise. So what we have here is a nice table, age by number of people, and we want to just import this data somewhere that we can make it a nice table. So how do we do that? We're going to use the data figure import tab. So the figure name, and there's a little commentary here. It's just an informative field. It's not even required. It's just to help us keep track of what we're doing, right? I spelled informative correctly there. That's pretty funny. And we're going to write, this is really just, table 1, just so we know what we're talking about. And where should this go, right? That's what figure sheet location means, right? We call it figures because it was for starting with charts, but it could be tables or anything. It just, how things are born. We've born it out of this idea of just making charts. But we want to bring in some data. And where should the data go? That's what figure sheet location means. Well, we're going to go take it to table 1 tab. Well, we're making this a little easy on ourselves, I understand, but it's simple. You should probably try to keep it simple too. Figure sheet location tab is where we're going to have the data go. Now, figure sheet data left corner. Okay, what does that mean? That's very simple. Where do you want, when you pull in data, I'm going to call it a rectangle. You pull in data, it's a rectangle. We have 2 columns and X number of rows, right? Where do you want the left-hand corner of that data to go? This is kind of unique and useful in that it's not bound by putting it in the first row. You have some flexibility where you want to put this within the worksheet. So we're going to go over here, and it's a little preset obviously from the demo that we already put together. But whenever you open up this thing, I recommend always building off this concept. I like to put, and I call this importing the raw data. I've highlighted some rows in yellow here, some area in yellow. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. This is more of a best practice that we follow. That is, we're going to put the data right here in cell E2, right? And then we're going to make really nice table over here based on the raw data that's spitting out right here. So we're going to tell it that upper left-hand corner should go to cell E2. So we just come here and actually $E $2. Now, I put the dollar signs there. I do believe that is required. Yes, it is. So you can't go wrong there. The number of rows. Okay. This is important. This is the number of rows that the data might have. Now, that's might have. My recommendation typically is just to import more data than you need. And again, you know, you don't have, you can specify as big as you need here. So what we're going to do is, I know that this table, because it's going to be age groupings, we'll never get past 10. But you could do hundreds, frankly, right? It doesn't matter. It's just going to import lots of blank rows. But we're going to go ahead and put in 10 rows just to be safe, right? Number of columns, that's pretty precise. There's going to be 2. The CSV file name. Oh, that's pretty simple. Let's go here. Right, we're going to get that. I'm going to copy the whole name there. Let me go back. Sorry. Sorry. Get myself organized. There we go. Here. Right. That's the file name. CSV data left corner. Question. That's kind of an interesting thing. Where is the data that you're going to be grabbing, right? So that's an interesting question. Let's go take a look at table 1. We're going to just put the data here, right? We don't want to grab the label. The CSV file had a label. We don't care about that. So the upper left-hand part of the data is actually cell A2. Okay. I'll go back to my document here. So I'm going to go back to data figure import, and I'm going to put in A2, right? Now there's also another column here of whether this is a bulleted table. More on bullets later. I don't know if this is actually even functional at this moment, as in if it's even necessary anymore. So anywho, this is table 1. We've already constructed this import. I'm going to hit save. And all we're trying to do here is import this table right to here. So let's go ahead, go to FigureDataImport. Or just take a look at that again. Everything looks good. And we're going to not have the report writer loaded at this time, which makes this entire video useless. But let's go ahead and load it. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close this down. Give me one moment. We have the report writer in the report writer package. Give me one moment on this video, and there's no reason we just can't get the package up and running. We all know from the startup how easy it is. And we're good. And then I'm going to go back to, here we are. I'm going to open up my Excel file again. And apologize for the delay, folks. There it is, my report writer. Always taking it off and putting it on for some stupid reason, right? So we're going to go here, and why did we do this? We're going to test out the imports using the one-time import function. So we're going to hit one-time import, and it's going to use this information on this tab to get it done. Type double is not valid. Oops, I guess I don't know my own report writer. So I'm going to get rid of, let me get rid of that. Okay, 1 second. Oh. I guess it just wants that. There we go. Sorry. Correction. You don't need the dollar signs. I guess I didn't do it here either, did I? So that's the good news about doing. That's the good thing about doing these tutorials. You play around with some of the things that you've forgotten exactly what it's looking for. So just common sense. E2. Don't need dollar signs. Go to table 1, and lo and behold, there's your data. Right. Now, in future, you'll see that I've kind of set it up right now that the table is up and running, right? Because of how it was set up. But we will go into that in the following videos. What can be done for the data figure import piece at this stage is to start adding in the data for the other figures. in this case. So like, for example, we'll do another example that we have to load up data for figure 1 here, right? Figure 1, let's go grab that real quick. Let's go take a look at figure 1. Just want to see what it looks like, right? Get an idea of it, right? First time at least. 2 columns. Notice it's not formatted. It's kind of, I made it purposely garbagey, kind of just, you know, the raw data. These are percentages and these are age groups. So it's 2 columns and who knows how many tables, rows. In this case, it'll always be about 3. Could be less if there aren't that many age groups, right? If there's a, you know, if there's no one over 51, it'll only be a 2-row table. Now we're going to get into this, how charts are handled to identify varying levels of information by report in a later video. So, but let's go ahead and do the exact same thing. At this point, it starts to build up speed because we're going to go to, we know that we have another 2-row table on our hands, and we're going to go figure 1. Right, we're going to call it figure 1. We're going to put figure 1 is the sheet location. We want the data. Let's double check. Where's it go? Figure. We're putting this one also at cell E2. Perfect. Sorry. Right. E2. We'll say it's 10 rows. We know it's 2 columns. It's now going to be called what? Let's go back here. Comp A figure 1 CSV. I just copy it just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. Right, there you go. And where do I want, where's the data? Again, there's a header row, so we don't want the header row being read in. So we're going to do A2. And there you go. You have 2 rows of data. 2. So I will hit save. I will close. I should be closing these files as I go. And just do a one-time import to test it. It is done. Let's go look at figure 1. And there it is. There's our figure data. So there's really, you will now continue to repeat this. We have, I think we have 1 table, we have 2 figures. I am dumbing it, and so we'll go ahead and create the second figure while we're at it. Let's keep going, just one more time. I'm gonna take a copy of this, obviously. Would be the most advantageous way to move things along. Create a copy and put it where? Before this bullet 1 thing, which there is a bullet in our report. Now, and we're going to change this. You know, this is just Excel stuff, right? Rename this figure 2, right? But this is not obviously what we want. We want to pull in a different set of data here. I'm just going to clear the contents here just for fun. Let's go double check, see what figure 2 looks like. This was by gender, I believe. Right? There we go. And that's, so it's now 3 columns, right? By, in this case, 2, but could be less, depending on the company, rows. So let's go ahead and just plunk in that information. Now, I'm just going to start cheating a little bit now, right? I'm going to copy all that. Paste that down, and let's start changing this stuff. Now this is going to be figure 2. That'll be figure 2. Same thing. It's going to be, we're going to be putting the data into cell E2 to start with. Say 10 rows of data, but 3 columns of information. And we know that the name here is just the same, but there's now it's data for figure 2 for company A. Right? And CSV left corner, again, we don't care about the header row, right? And we'll do a one-time import. We'll go to figure 2. Good, we have our data is up and running, right? Notice this all makes no sense because this is not the table we want to produce. We will get into that in a second, right? We will modify this chart as we need. You could also, don't need this chart, by the way. You can have a brand new chart. For purposes of our example, I probably should just go ahead and delete this, right? Or it's a copy. We're going to have to modify it anyway, and I'll just leave it for now. You can just create your own chart, and there's ways to, we're going to have to use, there's some tricks we're going to have to do to make sure the report writer knows what chart we're talking about. That needs to go into the report writer, and we'll get into that in following videos. Let's see here. What else needs to be in this document? I believe I'm kind of reducing it from the demo project. We're only going to do one table, not 3 of the same kind. We're doing 2 charts. There's also a bulleted list in that report. I don't think we went over it when we did the setup, but it is, I will go to the template document that has not been templated yet. There is a bulleted list, which is basically another set of data right there. I'm sorry, I missed this before. It's a bulleted list by numbers of employees by gender. So a little bulleted sentences that we want to be placed into a report. Very typical concept in report writing, right? So what that is, the number of employees by gender. So technically that's the same data that was in figure 2, correct? So there's a couple ways to do this. I would just, for fun, we need to get the same data here, right? Notice that here we had percentages and numbers. You could just work off of this, or you can just go ahead and import the data twice, right? It's your choice. So it's just importing the same. I would just, for clarity, we'll just import it twice, call it something else. Bullet 1, right? The location will be bullet 1. And everything else is the same. Now it says, is this a bulleted table? We will come back in futures whether we have to populate that. I'm guessing there's a rationale for it. I do also forget some of the little bells and whistles of what's necessary to get this thing to hum. But the good news is you now have all the data elements that we need to create a beautiful Company A report ready to go. I'm going to do a one-time import, make sure it's all done, which brings in that data right to there now, right? And obviously I have here some fun stuff about making a statement. Okay, that's all we're going to cover for this phase of our project build. The next lessons will start to move into probably what we have to do is actually start constructing these tables and figures so they actually look like something worthy of reporting. And then we will jump into telling the report writer, using the report numbers tab, telling the report writer what goes where in the report. Okay, well, thank you very much. See you next time.